So many kids in the kitchen, plant-based food to prepare. So many kids in the kitchen, with ideas we're happy to share.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another So Many Kids in the Kitchen show. My name is Ella Rodriguez. I am a Food for Life instructor, and I'm here with other Food for Life instructor. And today, our kids are going to do the cooking, and we're just going to be behind the scenes. The kids already washed their hands, they're ready to go, and they have some winter recipes for you guys. We have some soups, we have some desserts, we have some main dishes. It's gonna be excellent. So if you're here with us for the first time, if you have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat. We're gonna answer them at the end. And those little ones who are here, welcome, welcome. And thank you to the adults who brought you to the class. And let's get cooking. We're going to start with our chef, little chef Anu in North Carolina. Take it away, Anu.
Hi, my name is Anu, and I am 12 years old, and I am in Durham, North Carolina. And today I'm going to be showing you how to make carrot, celery, and pea soup. I really like this soup recipe. It's very flavorful, and it's a very nice lunch to have on a cold day. And it's very healthy for you. In the soup, you need carrots, chickpeas, beans, peas, and onions, and some spices of your choice. I'm going to start, oh, and you also need water. But I'm going to start by showing you how I prepare my carrot. This has, of course, been washed. So I use 1 carrot. I actually use 1.5, but if you don't want as much carrots, you can use 1. And I saved some pieces to show you how I cut carrots. I go front and down and then back. I find that's the best way to cut carrots, like that. And you want them in relatively thin discs, but not too thin. And be careful at your last cut. Sometimes it's nice to go like that, but be sure you don't cut yourself. And then as you get thicker down the carrot, it can be harder to cut, but just go quickly, but carefully. And you should be able to cut it safely. At the end of the carrot is very hard to cut, so maybe you can ask a parent for help, but there is this nice way I like to do. Just stick the knife in and then circle it around the carrot, and then it comes out. But you have to be careful because that's hard to do sometimes. And sometimes it just easily goes like that. But if it doesn't and you're stuck, then you can just go around like that. See how I'm rotating the carrot? And then it cuts. And at the end, you can leave some end because the end is hard to cut without, while being safe. So you can put this in compost. And I am going to put my cut carrots. This is 1.5 carrots in my pan. And now I'm going to cut celery. Oh, by the way, carrots are very good for you. They have vitamin A from beta carotene, which is good for your eyes. So carrots are good for you, and celery is also very good for you. It has a lot of fiber in it. So when you cut celery, there's a little line here where then it kind of gets weird and all skinny and stuff, and then the leaves come. So where there's a line, you want to cut right just before the line, like there. See, there's the line right above where I cut it. And then flip it over so that there's this one thick stalk and then the two thin stalks with the leaves on top. Flip it so that the leaves are on the top. Then cut down so that you're left with these leaves, this weird part of the celery, and you can use this part then. But this goes in the compost because it's too fibrous for us to eat. And then the end, when you cut it, maybe cut around there. At least this is how I like to cut celery. You can cut celery however you want, but. And then I like to cut it down the middle. Like that. And then just cut it how you would regularly cut celery. What makes celery so stringy is all the fibers, and that's very good for you. But it's also hard to chew. But in this soup, since we cook it down so much, it's very easy to chew. And now you just have the easy parts. This. And whenever you're using a knife, you want an adult to watch you just to be sure you don't cut yourself. And always have be ready in case you cut yourself. So know where your band-aids are and stuff in case you get hurt. But try not to get hurt. So there's my celery. I'm going to put that in the soup. Then we have one last thing to cut, which is onion. When you cut onion, it makes you cry. There's a nice trick for cutting onion. If you chew mint gum, then you won't cry. But also, if you kind of stand back from the onion, it won't make you cry as much. So I like cutting the onion into little segments, like separating it like that, so that the segments are kind of the same size, so that when you cut it, the chunks are kind of the same size. So just cut it like that, and like that, and then flip it sideways. You can cut it however thin you want it. I like it about that big. You can also have bigger chunks or smaller chunks, but I think that's about the right size. And they might not all be the same size, that's fine. And the onion gives the soup flavor. And if you like your onion in your soup kind of not all mushy and soft, then you can put it towards the end of cooking it. But I like my onion soft because then it kind of takes the flavor out of the onion and it spreads it out through the rest of the soup so that when you take a big bite of onion, it's not like a huge surprise. It's just kind of mild and it's spread out. Then I'm going to put a 1/4 cup of chickpeas. Chickpeas are very fibrous and they have a lot of protein in them. And also a 1/4 cup of beans. I would like red beans in my soup, but we didn't have red beans, so black beans are fine. You can use whatever kind of beans you like, but red beans for this soup would be best, I think. And then peas. And that's a 1/4 cup of peas, a 1/4 cup of beans also. And peas have fiber and protein. So those are our legumes. And now we have to add water. If you like your soup watery, you can, like me, you can put 1.5 cups. When you measure water, I think this is pretty obvious, but just keep the measuring cup on a level surface so that it's not tilted and so that you actually know how much you got. Oh, and if you don't like your soup watery, then just put 1 cup or less. And now put spices in. You can use whatever spices you like. I like using onion powder. You can also use garlic powder instead. This Italian herb thingy. And then this lemon herb seasoning. And smoked paprika. I think the smoked paprika adds a lot of flavor to my soup. Our onion powder is all lumpy, so it's hard to get it out of the bottle. Oh, and also salt. You don't have to put salt, but I think it gives the soup more flavor. Don't put that much, just put a little sprinkling. That might have been a bit too much, but smoked paprika. If you don't have smoked paprika, that's fine. We recently got it. My dad recently got it from the store, and I've really been liking it. So I put it in a lot of things now. And then my Italian, no, this is lemon herb seasoning. And lastly, my Italian herb seasoning. Now just mix it around. And of course, you can't make hot soup without a flame, so turn the flame on. Oh, got it. I turned the wrong one on. Okay, let's try that again. There we go. And just keep it kind of low, because for soup, it's good to simmer so that it cooks slowly. But the problem with simmering is it cooks slowly, so it takes a long time. So if you like it kind of crunchy, then cook it for maybe ½ an hour. But if you're like me and you like it really soft, then cook it for 45 minutes. And soup is like the only thing I like soft. I don't like oatmeal soft. I like it crunchy, but I really like this soup soft. And all the flavors seep out of the vegetables and they mix into the water, which makes it a really good broth, which is why I like to add extra water. So that's basically how you make the soup. If you have a pressure cooker, we moved it. If you have a pressure cooker, you can, instead of using the stove, you can pressure cook it, and that takes a lot less time. But when you're cooking the soup, just stir it maybe every 5 minutes. Stir it around like that. But since I don't have 45 minutes to wait for the soup to be ready, I have made the soup earlier this morning so that I can try it and tell you if it's good. Well, I have tried it and it is good, but just to show you. It's very good. I really like eating this for lunch. And by the way, this makes 2 very big servings, maybe 3 servings. But yes, I hope you decide to try my soup because it's very good. And now I'm going to pass it on to Ava and Ella in Omaha, Nebraska.
Thanks, Anu. That looks really good. I want to try that soup sometime. Today I'll be making tomato soup. 2 cans of tomatoes with onion and garlic, unless you just want to add your own onion and garlic. And then you want to add 3/4 cup of lentils, red lentils. The red lentils are really good with the soup, and they have iron, and the tomatoes have vitamin C, which helps with iron absorption. You want to put I use coconut milk, but you can use any other type of plant-based milk. I just think it makes the soup more creamy if you use coconut milk. And then you want to put in a teaspoon of Italian seasoning, a teaspoon of fresh basil. You can use like the spice basil if you want, but I think fresh basil is really good with this. 1/4 teaspoon of white pepper, and then a 1/2 teaspoon of oregano. Get the lid. And then you're going to want to put this in a pot. Then you're going to put this here and have an adult turn it on for you. And then you just cook it until it's heated through. You don't have to cook it for very long.
My name is Ella, and I live in Omaha, Nebraska, and I'm going to be making sesame kale salad. So what you need to do is you'll want to put in a tablespoon of lemon juice into 4 cups of chopped kale. And then you want to massage the kale. When you mix the lemon juice and mandarin oranges into the kale, it makes iron absorption. And then you want to put in a cup of chopped red cabbage. I really like how colorful it is. And then you want to put in a can of mandarin oranges. And massage it some more. And then you want to put in 1 to 2 tablespoons of sesame seeds. I just used 1 tablespoon. Depends on how much sesame seeds you want. And that's the salad.
Try this.
Sure.
A little bit.
This is really good. Next, me and Max will go in Rhode Island.
Hi, my name is Mia, and today I'm going to be making some very tasty blueberry and apple crumble. I forgot the name for a second. So first you want to just chop some apples into like little cubes. Apples are good for your heart, and they have a lot of fiber in them. All right. Then you're going to want to take about maybe 2 cups of blueberries. This is all we have left, so it's not. We don't want to put it. I'm just going to put it into this bowl. Yeah, that's all. And then I'm just going to add my apples in here. All right, perfect. Then you're going to need to take some tapioca or cornstarch. You can use whichever one you like, and sprinkle it all over your blueberries and your apples. Then you want to mix it a little bit. And next you're going to add some lemon sauce. I mean, not lemon sauce, lemon juice. And just sprinkle it over the top. And mix that in. And when you mix it, like make sure you go to the bottom, because the bottom usually has all the juice that like sinks down in between the cracks of the blueberries and the apples and gets down there. After that, you're going to want to take some maple syrup and put about 2 teaspoons inside the bowl. But I happen to have some very yummy blueberry and maple syrup that I had left over from my waffles. So I'm going to pour about half of that in. Yeah, that's good. All right. Then you want to spend a little bit of time mixing it until the apples are coated with about like some blueberry sauce. And just they have more color than they did before. There we go. Now I'm going to take my pan over here and pour this in here. It might help from an adult to do this because it's a little tricky. And especially if you're using a big bowl. Let me just take the rest of that. All right, that's good enough. And you will want to spread it out and lay it about, like just so the bottom you cannot see any of the glass on the bottom. You just kind of want to spread it. Okay, perfect. I'm going to set that to the side, and next we are going to make our crust. So first step for the crust, you're going to need some oats, This is about 3 cups, and I'm just gonna put it in there. There we go. I'm gonna pass that to my mom. All right, there we go. Then we're going to put a dash of cinnamon on top. I know Anu likes cinnamon, so she might put more than I do. All right, there we go. Then we can just pour like a little more of this on top. And I'm going to pour the rest onto it and just put that to the side and mix it all up. This part is a little tricky because there's only so much syrup and you want to get to all the oats. So you just want to keep on putting it in the middle because that's where you might have poured the syrup mainly. Then you want to take your pan of oats and just add the oats on top. You kind of want to like have them sprinkled out through all of the pan because they are the crust. And you can add more or less of everything. Once I ended up putting more lemon than usual. Yeah, this is like a recipe that you can do lots of experimenting with. So I recommend to go ahead and try that. I'll just put the rest in there. Right. I'm just going to dump the rest. And then we can go like that. All right. So now you have this whole pan of your yummy treat, and you're going to just slide it into the oven for about 30 minutes at 350. All right. Handing that to my mom, and then this is our final result that we would have. All right, here we go. Like that, and I'm just going to try it. Now I'm going to pass it on to my brother, Max. Wow, yeah, that's really good. Okay, hi, my name is Max, and today I'm going to be making some macaroni and cheese. First, you're going to need some, upside down, going to need some pasta, and you can use the type of pasta you want, but we're going to use some made of corn, rice, and corn? Quinoa. Quinoa. So you're going to put that into a pot and put some water in it and boil it up for a few minutes. At the last minute, you can take some of your broccoli, cup of broccoli, and put it inside and add it. Now, while that's boiling, we can add the sauce. We can make the sauce. The sauce, we're going to need some cashews. To make it all creamy, cashews to make it creamy, going to need 2 big potatoes or 4 small potatoes, a carrot. So you can dice the potatoes and dice the carrot, and you're going to need an onion. You can dice that too if you want, but I am not. Then you're going to put that in the pot, on the pot, and you're going to boil it for some time. After, you can take your blender, all of that, and you can blend it. No, but before you blend it, you can add some seasoning. Like, I'm gonna add some onion powder and some garlic powder, some salt, and nutritional yeast. So now I'm going to add that. And the broccoli is good for your digestive system, if you didn't know. So that's all done. Now we can pop the top on and blend it. So I'm going to turn it on. It might be loud. So if you want, you can cover your ears. So now this is done boiling, and this is how it'll look. It's the broccoli, and that's it. Now I'm gonna mix it together because it's kind of only in one spot. Right now, you can see that the pasta is like Jello, and you're mixing Jello around. It's weird. Now we can add sauce. So I'm going to add that right now to our pasta and broccoli. So as I'm doing that, I'm spreading it around so it's not all in one spot and it's easier to mix. Now we can take this back and mix it up together. Once again, it feels like Jello, but now it's like a little, it's a weird sound. So when I'm mixing it, you want to go from under and bring it to the top and flip it over. So that's what I'm doing right now. So once you're done, there you have your pasta. I am going to try it. So you can take it and just flop it in your bowl. I'm going to try it. Careful, it's hot. That is so good. So thanks for watching us cook, everybody, and now we're going to go to our Q&A.
All right, so many good dishes. So thanks everybody who are joining us. There are a number of questions that came in, and we have questions for each of the kids. Sorry?
Question.
Sorry, Annie? I know. So one of the questions that came in for each of the kids is, it's impressive that you guys started cooking at such an early age. And so I'd like each of you to answer, starting with Ava and Ella. At what age did you start cooking?
I don't really remember what age. I'm thinking probably about 8 or 9-ish. I don't really remember either. I'm thinking about maybe 4 or 5-ish.
How about Mia and Max? When did you start cooking?
I started cooking at this age, 8, maybe 7, but so 8. I wouldn't say I really did any big meals other than like maybe oatmeal for some, like or something for breakfast. Once in a while I helped out my mom, but I'd say when I like really started to get in the kitchen a lot would be maybe around 9.
How about you, Anu? I think I know, but let's see if you remember.
Yeah, I think I remember helping my dad from as long as I can remember, because one of my earliest memories is making oatmeal raisin cookies while it was snowing outside. I was maybe 3. So yeah, I used to help my dad a lot when I was younger, but then when between like 6 and about a year ago, I stopped helping as much. But now I make food pretty often.
No, I love having you in the kitchen. And I have this, remember this picture? So there was a magazine that did a picture, that came and did a story about Thanksgiving, and they came to my kitchen, and I have a picture of Anu. Remember what it said on your onesie? It said food critic, and she was like 10 months old, and I was holding her and cooking. So I'm not sure you were helping me at 9 or 10 months, but
I was probably delaying.
So there were a lot of really good questions. One question that just came in from Kathy Sabo. I noticed that glass pans are being used. Are they pretty easy to clean once the food is eaten? So would any of the kids or adults like to answer that one?
I can answer that. I think glass is always easier, right, than plastic. On plastic, sometimes it's harder to clean, but glass is always easier. So if you have a choice, go with the glass.
So in my household, we try to use stainless as much as possible. I like stainless. Stainless, you can soak. We don't tend to cook beyond medium heat, and so food gets scorched when you get hotter and hotter. So if you keep the heat moderate, and a lot of the cooking we do is moderate heat, then it's usually pretty easy to clean up. And glass is a great choice. So like we made in glass pan something recently. Didn't we bake some dessert?
Brownies.
We made brownies. So tell them about your Girl Scout brownies you made earlier this week.
Yeah, I made black bean brownies for the second time, and they're really good, and they're pretty healthy because they have beans and they just have a little bit of maple syrup. Yeah, and they're really good.
And so we did that in glass baking pans, so it was pretty easy to clean up. In that case, you didn't clean up the pans, though. I did. There was a question that came in for all the kids, but it really is mainly for Mia. And it was Tiffany Wilkerson who said, it's wonderful to see how all the chefs are dressed so professionally each time in their kitchen attire. And so the secret is it's really due to Mia. So if you see the wonderful, the adults, we have our Food for Life aprons on, but the kids have beautiful outfits. So you can see, Mia did something really neat. She asked all the kids, what are your favorite colors? So Anu, your favorite color is?
Green and blue.
And Ava and Ella?
Purple, blue.
And so, and Max, what's your favorite color?
It's green, but I'm gonna use red.
Okay. And so Mia, based on that, tell us what you did and tell us your favorite color too.
My favorite color is maybe turquoise. But we don't have that color apron. So basically what we did was I just saw what color everyone had and like their favorite color, and then we had this whole stack of aprons. We thought it would be nice to give away one to each kid.
Yeah, that was great. And that really helps our show. It helps us have a consistency of appearance. I'm glad that folks in the audience noticed that. Ava, there was a question for you about opening cans. So can opening can be dangerous. Do you have any tips to make sure that that can be safe?
I'd say one of the tips are never, once you have the can open, never try to lift up the lid with your fingers. Always use a spoon or fork to put in there and lift it up. And if it's too hard, you can always have an adult help you with it.
Okay. Anu, would you mind grabbing our can opener? I want to show off. We have a new can opener, which makes it easier to open cans. Ella, you were talking about the red cabbage you used, which was beautiful. So I love how you added color. So Anu's going to show, we have this new, I bought this recently. Let me spotlight you. So show them the can opener. So it's really neat. So tell them how this works.
It's basically a can opener, but it doesn't leave a sharp edge. So basically, Yeah, there, you put the rim of the can there, and then you just turn it, and then it just cuts it from the can. But yeah.
It's really neat. What brand is it? Rincon or something? Rincon. So we love it. We just got it like a month ago. Before we take the question for Ella, a question just came in from an 8-year-old who's watching. Amelia, I'm glad you're watching the show with us through, I guess, your parent, Blair Burton Fulbister, and I apologize if we're mispronouncing. But Amelia, age 8, asks, how do you come up with your recipes? And it's a great question for everybody. So Anu, starting with you, how do you come up with your recipes?
The soup that I made, I kind of got an idea from a book I read describing a soup that they ate, and I thought that was pretty good because my dad only makes like creamy soup, and I like clear soup, but he never makes it.
I do once in a while.
So I decided to come up with my own recipe, and it was inspired by a book I read.
Can you mention one book that you like that has recipes, or are there a bunch?
Oh, a book that I recently read is by one of my favorite authors, Patricia Riley Giff. It's called Ginger Snap, and at the end of the chapter, it gives a soup recipe because it's about this girl who likes to make soup, and it kind of shows her feelings by what kind of soup she makes at the time.
Ava and Ella, what inspires you for your cooking? How do you come up with your recipes?
I read a lot of cookbooks, and sometimes my inspiration comes from there. It just depends. I just put all some of my favorite stuff together.
Okay. And how about Mia and Max? How do you come up with your recipes?
For this one, I just was thinking, what should I do? And I know that I like to eat mac and cheese, the one that my mom's making. And I was like, how did she make that? And it was a winter recipe, and I knew that it was hot. So I was like, maybe I can do that.
That's great. And I want to remind the audience who's watching, and Ella, if you have anything, go ahead and jump in. But I want to remind the audience that we are all wholly vegan and whole food plant-based. And so when you're plant-based, it doesn't mean you have to give anything up. So many kids, for example, really enjoy macaroni and cheese. And so Max has just demonstrated that if you like macaroni and cheese, being vegan doesn't mean that you can't enjoy macaroni and cheese. You could enjoy his recipe. And all our recipes are available. We've posted them on the page. Another question came up, and Kathy Sabo is saying she loves reading cookbooks. So another question that's come up is from Tiffany Wilkerson. Have any of the chefs ever had the chance to cook for their friends? So Mia and Max, have you ever had a chance to cook for your friends in school or in any other context?
Not really. No, but like if they come over sometimes, I'll help my mom, and then they'll kind of like watch us or maybe help us a little bit, and then we just run off and play, but sort of.
Yeah, and I don't know if you guys remember, but sometimes we had your friend Sophia comes over.
Oh, yeah.
Or
I remember Catherine came that one time, and then we had, I think, nachos or tacos.
yeah, so we make different foods that are very appetizing to even the non-vegan people, non-plant-based, but they're definitely plant-based, and there are a lot of times they're surprised. We made pizza one time with some of your friends. I think you guys were younger, you don't remember as much, but yeah, whenever we have friends over and we serve them a snack, you guys always help me, and we try to include them. Because what we notice is even with our own kids, a lot of times when they get to put an ingredient in, mix something around, we say, well, Max and Mia, help me make this dish for you guys. They're more likely to try it, and the kids are more likely to, give it a true try to their food and not say, oh, I don't like broccoli, right? But if they get involved into the cooking process, then they take responsibility for what they make. They're proud of what they make. So then they're more likely to try it over and over again. And you like experimenting too with the smoothies and stuff.
I also remember when Lydia, like one of our cousins came over, she got to try a date for the first time. So, and she liked it. So that's good.
I agree. I think getting people involved helps get them invested in the food. And before we ask Ava and Ella about cooking with their friends, I wanted to mention that Sometimes if we're eating plant-based, people who are moving towards a plant-based diet, sometimes their friends say, well, the food probably doesn't taste so good, but it's so varied. And I find that a lot of people who aren't used to plant-based eating. So for example, when we got married, my wife and I, we still get comments from people once in a while when we run into them. We remember your wedding, it was the best wedding food we ever had. It was entirely vegan, plant-based, and people remember it. So good plant-based food is awesome. So Ava and Ella, can you tell us about, have you ever cooked for anybody else, friends or relatives?
No, not. We haven't really cooked for our friends, but this Halloween, actually, we had some of our close family over for a Halloween party, and we cooked for them, and they really liked it.
Oh, that's great. Did all the kids do the cooking?
Our whole, we all worked together to do it.
Nice. That must have been fun. Your dad too?
Sort of.
Cool. And then Anu, have you ever cooked for friends or in any other environment besides home?
When one of my friends, Natalia, came over for a sleepover, we made pancakes together for breakfast, and that was really fun. And also, when my best friend Alden comes, my mom always makes pasta, and sometimes we help her or we pick out ingredients we want or don't want. We really enjoy her pasta.
So here's some, I have a couple general questions. Ella, before I ask them the general questions, did you have anything you wanted to throw in there?
Maybe just mention this book, but Nourish. And we're actually going to have the author of this book, Miss Brenda Davis and Reshma Shah, next for our next cooking show. I believe March 20th, right?
Yeah, on the Great American Meat-Out.
Yeah, this is our latest inspiration. Miss Brenda was so nice to send it to us for Christmas, and this is something that we've been trying to cook from.
Yeah, that's a great point. Our next show, the Kids in the Kitchen cook every other month. So you guys did 2 months ago. What did you guys do 2 months ago? You may remember? You did favorite holiday desserts, right? So we did holiday desserts. And so last month we had a special guest, right? Who remembers our guest last month?
Yeah.
Go on, Max.
I think Genesis.
Yeah, Genesis Butler. She's she's an activist. Her great uncle was Cesar Chavez, who's a great hero for civil rights for farm workers. So next month, Anu, who's our guest next month?
Miss Brenda.
Yeah, and her co-author. So Brenda Davis is one of my favorite nutritionists. She wrote a book with a pediatrician, Reshma Shah, and so they're going to be on our show, and they're going to be taking questions. Okay, so let's go to, and there was a question from Kathy. When I was a kid, one of my best memories was a birthday party I attended where we had lunch and the table was set up so pretty. So let's go back to Ava and Ella. So Ella, when you were working with cabbage, can you talk about, you were talking about the colors. So cabbage comes in other colors too. You can get like green cabbage, but did you pick the red cabbage or did you have your mom or dad pick it? Was color one of the reasons you picked it?
Well, no, we just picked it because we picked it because we liked the color and because we liked the flavor.
And Ava, could you talk also about color, and do you use color when you're choosing foods and recipes?
Sometimes, because the nutrition rainbow, the more naturally colorful your food is, the more helpful things are in it, like vitamins and minerals you need.
Yeah, generally the more colors, the more phytochemicals, which are cancer fighting, which keep us healthy. So those are wonderful choices. So we're not talking about artificial colors. We're talking about natural colors. The deeper colors are in food, generally the better they are for you. Mia and Max, I wanted you, Mia, to talk about frozen blueberries. You very nicely put some blueberries in. Does it make a difference if you use frozen versus fresh, and are there any trade-offs?
Frozen versus fresh. I think fresh. They're I think they're kind of sweeter, but also when the ones in the freezer like dry, like not dry, but when they stop being cold, I think they're really good too. So I honestly prefer fresh ones, but we don't have fresh ones right now, so we used frozen ones. And I think it's better for this recipe because you put it in the oven, and then I don't really like the idea of putting fresh blueberries in the oven. I just feel like they would kind of get flat or something. And so I guess that's why for this recipe, I'd say that frozen blueberries are better.
Yeah, and just to add to that, when it comes to the nutritional value of the blueberries, they're totally fine if they're frozen or fresh. If you can have them in the season fresh, that's great. But a lot of times fresh blueberries, they go bad in the refrigerator really quick. So a good budget-friendly tip is if you buy frozen blueberries, then they stay in your refrigerator good, forever, and you can just use them whenever you need them. And a lot of times when it comes to frozen fruits, vegetables, they are picked right when they ripen, so they're ready, they're good to go. Whereas, if we buy something fresh, it's not really fresh because unless you get it from like a market. But if not, a local market. If not, they usually are picked when they're not really as ripened. Then they go into the storage facility. Then they go into the store and they stay there for a couple of days. Then they go in the refrigerator for another day, a couple of days until you use them. So it's not really as fresh as we think. Whereas when we get them frozen, they were picked when they're the ripest and they have the most nutritional value. So don't shy away from frozen. They're actually really good for you.
I totally agree with that. Quick story, we were talking with Brenda Davis. She's been a good friend of mine for many years. So Brenda just extols the values of blueberries so much. They're so full of antioxidants. So she's in Canada. What she does in the summer when blueberries are blooming is she buys a lot. She buys, I think she's told me, hundreds of pounds of blueberries. And she has a freezer and she freezes those blueberries and she enjoys them year round. So just like Big Ella said, that blueberries are very, very healthful. It doesn't matter whether they're fresh or frozen. And so pick whatever's convenient. And oftentimes we in my family, we try to buy organic as much as possible. And oftentimes you can get organic food cheaper and better when it's frozen, because as you said, Ella, it's fresh picked. And then it's sold. So the only disadvantage of frozen is the cost of keeping it cold. So going back to Max, Max, can you talk about, you were blending, and I know you've blended in past shows too. Is it difficult to blend? Is it hard for you to blend? Are there any challenges or anything that you want to share with us about blending?
Not really that much. It's just you put it on and then you click some buttons and buns, but sometimes it might try to shake off, so you want to put your hand on top.
Yeah, that's wise advice. It's important when you're using any kind of a machine to make sure you're supervising it. And then Anu, I wanted to ask you, there were some questions that came in about celery. Do you ever peel off the strings of celery? And if you do, how do you do it?
I only peel off the strings of celery when I'm eating them and it's too fibrous. So when I do that, I just kind of bite it and chew off the not as stringy part and then use my teeth to extract the most stringy parts and peel it kind of down like that.
So did you want to share a fun story about celery? We were talking about this yesterday. You were surprised.
I was?
Yeah, about calories.
Oh yeah, it takes more energy to eat celery than celery gives you, so
it's sometimes called a dieter's friend, right?
Yeah.
So people who are trying to lose weight, it's said that all the energy of chewing is more than the calories that the celery gives you. So celery is a very nice food to eat. It has lots of micronutrients and it's very hydrated, it's full of water, but it also has there are other foods like that. Michael Greger, we recommend Michael Greger, nutritionfacts.org. He talks about certain foods. Remember we were talking about this? That when you eat it before a meal, you'll tend to eat less.
Oh yeah.
What was one example?
It was apple.
Right. So if you're interested in losing weight, one thing you can do is while you're cooking, eat an apple, munch on an apple. And then you'll end up, your total consumption with the apple and what you eat for dinner will be less, was one hint that he's given. Welcome, my brother is on, Sanjay Barman. Sanjay, welcome. So he's posting, better to have frozen Maine-grown wild blueberries than fresh Chilean grown during the winter season. So that's a good point. We need to also pay attention to, you know, whether you're buying something, how much shipping goes into it. So one interesting point about that is some people talk about, you know, always eating what's in season, what's local. The impact we make from an environmental perspective of getting something that's shipped from far away that's plant-based is still less than the impact of something that's animal-based. But Sanjay, your point's a good one about if you can favor something that was grown closer to home, that's a good thing. Thanks for sharing that. There's a comment from Tiffany Wilkerson. Are there any recipes that the chefs are eager to learn how to cook in the near future? So since the spotlight's on you, Anu, what's next for you? What would you like to learn on your own, or would you like maybe me to teach you?
Everything. I want to learn how to make like more pasta dishes.
So,
and like more variations of pizza, because I help my mom make pizza, but I'd like to experiment with different toppings because we always have the same toppings.
Yeah, nowadays I teach math also, and I teach on Sundays pretty much all day. So mommy takes care of dinner on Sundays, right? So she's often been making some really good pizza.
Yeah, and then I spend the afternoon kneading dough.
So how about one hint about making pizza healthy? So a lot of people will think pizza, that doesn't sound very healthy. Isn't there a lot of cheese, and is it an unhealthy food? But we make a pretty healthy pizza. Can you give a couple hints about that?
Don't use white flour in the dough. And because if you use whole wheat flour, then it's a lot more healthy. It has more fiber and stuff. So if you use whole wheat flour, then it's more healthy and it tastes very good also. And you don't have to put cheese on. Pizza without cheese is very good, but I like some cheese on it. There's a lot of vegan cheeses. And if you put a little bit, that's fine.
Yeah, we're an entirely vegan and primarily whole food plant-based family, and so we usually do have some cheese in the house. It's vegan, it's plant-based cheese. We're not trying to kid anybody and say that's a healthy food. We don't eat a lot of the cheese, but a little bit here and there, occasionally a grilled cheese sandwich. When's the last time I made grilled cheese? It's been a while.
Yesterday. We had a pizza sandwich.
Yeah, so that was a pizza sandwich.
Soup.
And that was a recipe that we got from
But we haven't had it in like a month.
Right. So that's so that was Miyoko Shinner. So it's her recipe. You put bread and then you put like
sauce.
Pizza things, sauce, and maybe I put mushroom in mine, and maybe artichokes,
bell pepper in
and then a little bit of vegan cheese, and then you grill it. So yeah, we don't have it often, but we do keep vegan cheese at home, and it's not a health food, but in little pieces. I find with pizza, if the ingredients are fresh, you really don't need any cheese, vegan or not. Ava and Ella, what would you add to that? What recipes would you enjoy learning next?
I want to learn more about sushi. We have like supplies for making it at home, but like I just would like to learn to make more different kinds of sushi. I would like to learn to make more different kinds of soups and stuff.
That's great. You have a lovely little sister. Do you help teach her any skills in the kitchen?
No, not really.
Okay, and Mia and Max, how about you? What would be the next recipes you would want to learn?
I want to learn how to make a vegan hot dog, because I always have it at the stores, and I want to know how to make it. For me, I'm not sure. I feel like maybe noodle soup with carrots and stuff. But also I feel like, honestly, I don't know.
Maybe smoothies. You love experimenting with smoothies all the time.
Oh yeah, I always make try to make some sort of banana or chocolate smoothie.
Smoothies are great. So and there was a comment. I was going to make the same comment. It's from Blair Burton Fubister. I guess it's from your daughter. That try a carrot dog. So carrot dog is something which we've never tried. We've known about it, right? So
yeah, we've never tried either. So I guess that's something on our on our to-do list next, right? We should try a carrot dog, and we have the perfect carrots for that. Yeah, we'll try that. Thank you, Blair, for the suggestion.
So we're coming to the end of our hour. If there's any last questions, I did want to mention about our next Cooks show, and then after that, maybe Ella can remind us again about the next kids show. So our next Cooks show is coming up. I can't remember the date, but it's in March. I think it's the second Saturday of March, and we're doing seasonings. So many seasonings, and we'll be talking about spices of different kinds and using vinegars. And I'm thinking of making my signature dish, which is lime marinated jerk seitan. It's been there's a video about it, and it's been in a book or two, I think. So that's our next adult show. And then Ella, do you want to talk again about what our next children's show is? They're not going to be cooking. We don't know what they're doing for the next cooking show in 2 months. We have to start talking about that. But what are we doing for the show next month?
Yes, so next month the kids are going to take a break from the kitchen, and we're just going to experiment in the back. But we are having, like I said, the authors of this amazing book. We're having Miss Brenda Davis and Reshma Shah. I hope I'm saying that name correctly. They are going to come into our show, and we're going to ask them some questions. So, you know, all the parents are there, or the kids over there. If you have any questions pertaining to cooking, to good nutrition for kids, anything that has to do with that, please join us next time, and they're going to be happy to answer all your questions.
I wanted to mention that we're really lucky that Miss Brenda has been contributing to each of our documents. So our recipes are available online, and at the end of the recipes, you'll see an addition from Brenda, and she talks about winter foods and gives her spin on it. So with that, we thank everybody for watching us. We hope you've enjoyed the show. Please follow the recipes. Ella, did you have any final words?
No, just thank you for coming to watch us once again. And if this was your first time, hopefully you guys will be able to come and join us again. And, you know, to all the little chefs out there, please get in the kitchen, experiment, take some pictures, and show us what you're creating. And Amelia, thank you for joining us. I hope you like the show.
And a good way to end is on my clever and smart brother. He said, your kids are great. You will utilize your cooking skills your entire life. And remember to listen to your parents. Give them a hard time once in a while. You can ignore that. And floss your teeth. Good advice. So thanks, everybody. We'll look forward to seeing you next time.
Thank you. Bye. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for coming.